What's up, guys? Jason from Kart Smart. We're going to be doing a conversion on a club car. It has the resistor coils. As you can see, the cables hooked here to each resistor that's sticking off all the way down. V-Glide, F&R, battery pack, motor. I'm going to lay out what we're going to put in it, and then we're going to get to getting it out. I'm going to show you how to get all this out pretty quickly. It's not as bad as it looks. The batteries are probably the worst, really. So everything that you're about to see in this box you can get on my website. Okay, you can call us, say, hey, I want to do the same conversion you did in that video. I got you. All right, so we're gonna start out with your new pot box, your new forward and reverse, and the wiring harness. And so that we're very clear on how easily this is going to go into the golf cart, we have each individual wire where they're supposed to go. Like this hooks to your solenoid on your male terminals. This right here is going to be that B+ fuse link that we always are getting calls about, and I'm trying to make sure you guys are putting this on the right part, and I will show this in the video when we get to installing. All right, so that's the wiring harness, and I'm talking tow run switch, tells you where it goes, how to do that key switch, all that. Battery gauge, if you wanted to, all you got to do is just put a couple of ring terminals or the male or female spades. Cable set, and this includes controller to motor as well, plus the battery pack. 400 amp solenoid that'll go along with the kit that you will need. And then the beautiful Navitas controller that is phenomenal in operation. So highly recommended if you're upgrading a golf cart to swap to this controller. Aside from the motor, that's all you're gonna get. That's all you're gonna need. It's time to take all of your old operating system out. All right, so I've got all the battery nuts off. Getting the cables off the batteries, gonna get the batteries out. Alright, there you go, guys. Out of the way. Got a whole lot of room in there at this point. Kind of the reason why lots of people are starting to change these particular model golf carts to lithium as well. You basically have to bring it to solid state for lithium to operate efficiently. Some stuff you got to do to make them work in the old models like this, but it's definitely not worth the hassle. And remember, you're not keeping any of this, so if you happen to have to break it or something, it is what it is, because your new kit has got all you need. A little persuasion's come right off. Alright, so before I let go of the bolts that are holding the switch to the body here, I'm going to follow every cable and I'm going to take it off of anything that it's attached to. Purple cable here, it runs back and attaches to the motor right back there. So I'm going to take it off from the motor. You do not need to unhook anything from the forward and reverse. You're just going to take it all out together, wires and all, so that it's not a hassle to have to unbolt here, unbolt there, and do all this and that. So while I was taking the cable from the F&R switch off to the motor, I was just like, you know what, let's just take off all the cables because they got to come off anyway. And so if you've put like a light kit in, be sure you grab all the zip ties and cut them, because when you pull, you don't want to pull what you've laid in here out or damage it. So just be aware of that. Take the F&R switch out. We'll start unhooking it from the solenoid. Key switch wires and the power from the solenoid to the switches. Make sure all those switches are out of the way. You're going to remove this wire here and this wire here. How I do that is with some snips, because you cut it off close, you won't need that. That's how fast that happens. The orange wire that's going into your charge port is your reverse buzzer wire. Same deal, because you'll take that and put it on a power source with the new setup. That way you have your reverse buzzer if you want it. You don't have to hook that back up. But again, we got a white also that comes from the reverse buzzer and comes down to the solenoid right there. In this case, I'm going to be unbolting the solenoid, get the cable off of it. Then you have your green wire on your solenoid. Comes from the micro switch in the V-Glide. That's going to get gone. You do not need that. Cut it off right at the terminal right there. I mean, this V-Glide could be resold and reused for somebody else's purpose. And I keep all the hardware that comes off of the cart, because it's no telling what you run into or where you can put something with being able to reuse, like the bolts and nuts and stuff that come from it. And so that's what I was meaning by this all can happen pretty quickly. I'm just kind of taking my time for you guys to be able to see how I get her done. But there's the whole entire thing. You don't have to do much of anything, just unhooking and minor little cutting places, because all this stuff's not going to be reused for your golf cart. Alright, so the next thing I'm getting out is going to be the V-Glide and the resistors. I'm taking all that out together. What I know to be like, I think 8mm bolts or nuts underneath the V-Glide, holding the V-Glide feet to the frame. Just loosen them up, it pulls off. A resistor assembly, board, rings, cables, and all together. Don't forget you got to unhook your rod from the throttle pedal. I got our linkage to let go. Got the linkage to let go of the V-Glide knob. So now remember, when you get all of this out, you need to take this ball connector off. And I've already taken the bolts off the bottom of this, so we ought to be able to lift it right on up out of here. And there you go. Get it all out at one time. You can make this disassembly really fast. Being that this particular model has no access panel back here like some of your newer style club cars, you may end up having to actually let go of the shackles, the lower shackle bolts on your leaf springs and the shocks, and lower the rear end down to be able to slip the motor off. What I'll do is I'll take like a ratchet strap, throw it around the motor, and that way once I slide it off, I've got some kind of handle and control, and you can get it to come out this direction. Alright guys, so motor's undone. There's a support bracket that is got a 13mm bolt that runs through it that ties into the rear end there. So don't forget about that bolt. There's 3 11mm that hold the motor to the rear end. Alright, and now that I've got a little bit better look, and so do you, so there's plenty of room right here to get this cart up in the air and on some jack stands or on a lift if you've got one, fortunate enough to have one. You got plenty of room to get in front, like over in here with your body, and slip this off and let it fall down between the battery tray and the rear end itself right here. So there's plenty of room to get that motor out of there. And if you got to do it on the ground, it's okay to do that the same way. You just, you know, you're going to be laying with your head up in this area so your arms can bring it down to you, or your chest rather, in this area so your arms can bring it down, let it sit, roll off onto the ground for you. Alright, there we go. Motor is removed. Let's check this out. So, old system with motor, new system, and my new motor has not yet arrived. Should be here today. But very different, much more efficient, a heck of a lot better performance, just so much benefit to it. Bluetooth capable, built-in diagnostic mode. I mean, it's just, you can't beat it. Just get your dash panel pulled back and take the 2 wires off the back of the key switch and just pull them out of your cart. At this point, I am going to get my new throttle box put on, because remember I said you got to get this little ball connector here off of the V-Glide, because you will be putting it on the new throttle sensor here. You're putting it on this lever of the new throttle sensor. And so we're going to get the throttle sensor bolted in. Just as simple as just unplugging it from the harness here and undoing it from the zip tie, taking it to the cart. Couple of self-tapping screws is what I like to use here, but you can mark and drill holes and put bolts in it if you'd like. It's however you'd like to do it. It's just what I have available to do it with. So I'm gonna get that done, guys, and I'm gonna show you before we drop this into the cart. I'm gonna show you where the ball connector goes on your new lever. So there you go. So here's our throttle sensor, and you can see our lever and the multiple hole positions that you can put this in. Alright, there we go. Got our new pot box installed. As you can see, I use self taps to just tap in. I did have to move just a slight bit to the left here with that one, but that's okay, not a big deal. So as you can see, I'm not on the lower hole anymore because it would not take it all the way to the full throw. And you can see the throw is marked right here for 100%. So I just moved up a hole, and it's able to now push all the way back to 100. And so we should get full throttle, which we will be able to read that later. Before we do any kind of major riding with it, we'll power all that up and go through the parameters to make sure they're good. Now, at this point, it's just about figuring out where we're going to put the controllers. I'm definitely going to put some kind of plate there, bracketry of some sort, to hold the controller to the cart just there. Alright, so I've got my wiring harness just roughly laid in here to where I am going to like the way it lays in after I wire management, zip tie, everything up to the frame, stuff like that. And then I've got this piece of metal here. It's got 2 holes that I've drilled and put bolts through. I'm going to be cutting the extra bolt off there before it's over with. But you know, when you needing a place to mount the controller, it's kind of hard to put it right there because it's got no real support. So I was fortunate enough to find this plate and be able to use it. That's where I'm at with getting the controller mounted. I was getting ready to do that here shortly. Also got the solenoid mounted to the other body support here, and so this ought to work out pretty good. This thing is kind of typically where they are in some of your newer stuff, or either they're mounted to a plate that's bolted all the way across the support structure here. So alright guys, showed up. So we're going from this to that. Real good looking blue motor, I like that. Always like them good blue looking motors. Now it's got to go in there. So we're going to get that done real quick, and I'll come back and show you everything that I just got done doing and explain what we was talking about with the bracket and the controller and all that good stuff. Get that out of our way and then move on. Alright guys, got the motor mounted up there. Don't forget 3 11mm bolts hold the motor to the rear end, and then the 1 13mm that holds the support of the motor to the rear end. Controller's all mounted up, everything now. I'm going to get our forward and reverse rocker pod mounted up at this point. Get that tied in and plugged back up. Alright guys, so I've buttoned up a little bit more. Got some of my wiring harness run plugged into the controller. I've got my B-, which is going to show on this tag right here. A little out of focus, but it's a little hard to see anyway. But this goes to B- directly on the controller. You can go ahead and put that there. Alright, then remember our fuse link here. That is going to go on the main positive wire from your battery pack, because your main positive is always going to be on the passenger side of a club car. Your main negative is going to be on the driver's side of the club car. And so when you put this fuse link together, the cable that comes from hot of the battery pack, B positive, goes right with that same wire that has the fuse link in it. You've got to do that because this is what feeds your 36 or 48 volts into your low amp, which is your main wiring harness. That feeds the controller. Basically the logic of the controller its necessary voltage to get operational. Ended up putting our tow run switch right beside the controller, which is going to make it stupid convenient. I really like the way that ended up playing out. So, you know, if you like this plate style deal here that I did, you can always put you a nice little, I think it's 1/2 inch hole there for the tow run to be real close to the controller like that. Easily be able to wire manage, zip tie all this up together. Got to get our speed sensor hooked up, not too hard. We've already pulled the wiring harness into the dash for the key switch, getting ready to hook that up. You can see we've laid the forward and reverse switch right where it's supposed to be, right where it's going to go to bed. You hook these wires up. Red is going to be in the middle of the switch. That's what's providing the voltage in. And then you'll have your forward and reverse. You can put these on backwards, which is okay. It's not going to hurt anything, because what it'll do is make the cart go forward in reverse and then reverse and forward. So all you do is come in here and pop your switch back out, switch them around, and then you'll have proper operation of the direction. Alright guys, we got all our stuff connected from the solenoid, and when you get this controller in, you're ready to get to this point of wiring it up where I am now, or where I was at. Okay, it's super simple. You're going to get a wiring diagram with this kit too if you get it from us online. Alright, but you got to run 2 wires to the B positive of the controller. One is going to come from your solenoid. The other one is going to leave from the controller and go to A1 on the motor. Okay, same for your M minus, which is just above your B positive. Your M minus is your negative feed to the motor to complete the circuit. So you're going to run the M minus from the controller to the A2 on the motor. It's going to be that lug right there. Okay. All right, now you see this yellow wire and this white wire, so that's your F1 and F2s. My yellow is F1, my white is F2, and all you got to do is run those colors to the corresponding places, the F1 and then the F2 to the motor. I want to bring this once more time because this is very important. So here is my battery cable that's going to go to my battery pack. Okay, that fuse link must be with the battery cable coming from the battery. It has to be from there. It has to see 36 volts constantly so that the controller will operate the vehicle properly. Got all our wires buttoned up nice and tight. Got our key switch and dash put back together. Got all that good. Got our throttle sensor, pot box, and all that nice and tidy right here. As I said, tow run there. I got to cut these bolts off right here. But we are actually ready to put batteries back in this bad boy, and our customer has opted to go with a brand new set. Finish up the wire and get the charger port wired back into it, because we are able to use the original charge port with their original charger, and I'm going to show you how to do that once we get the batteries laid in, because we will need to bring a cable that we cut right here, because this was tied to the forward and reverse. Now you could just tie into this, like butt connect it or solder it, whichever one you want to do, but I'm more than likely going to just replace the cable because I have this size from the charge port over to our positive battery for the charging cycle to happen properly. Battery pack is installed, all our cables are hooked up, and this is the customer decided to stay in 36 volts for the moment. That's one thing you guys will realize also in purchasing one of these kits, is that these controllers are now 36 or 48 volt compatible. So yes, you can get a set of 8 volt batteries or the 51.3 lithium battery kit, and plug and play that bad boy right in here, and you can have 48 volts. The only other thing you would have to get is a charger. If you're staying lead acid, you'll have to get a 48 volt charger. If you go lithium, the lithium battery kit should come with the charger you need. So that simple when you're doing the conversion that uses the Navitas kit. And all those motors that you see us put in these golf carts are also 36 48 volt compatible unless specified for a certain purpose. So keeping that in mind, we are going to find where our 12 volt source is to be able to hook the light kit back up, and then we're going to tighten all our battery nuts. This may or may not turn out as good as I would like it to, because there's no way this camera's going to pick this up. But this is our Navitas initial app opening right here, and so it's going to be saying select a controller below, and when you turn on your tow run switch, the controller should come on. You should see some LEDs light up around this little light right here, and then it should turn green. And then it's going to show on the cell phone, it's going to show you the controller's serial number, and when that pops up, you're just going to click on it. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to flip this tow run switch and see if these lights light up. All right, sweetheart. Oh, yep. Okay. All right, and so as soon as I turned that switch on the app, the serial number, the TSX number, popped up, and so I'm going to touch the screen that correlates with the serial number, and this is going to be your dashboard. This shows you mile per hour, controller temperature, battery voltages. You got all kinds of stuff in there that you can see, and I mean it's pretty wild. I can't even hardly begin to explain, because you have down here in the white where you can't see the words, you got the word dashboard, you got the word diagnostics, and then you got the word settings. So you can go in here and you can change the settings to the controller so that it can give you a better operation, more torque, or you can change all kinds of stuff. You can change how sensitive the gas pedal is, like how soon it starts making the golf cart go, or how long before the golf cart takes off. It's pretty wild. And then like I said, it's got diagnostics right here in the middle. Well, if something happens inside the controller, or a failure of the speed sensor or anything like that, that's where you're going to go. It's going to have a little triangle that pops up right here, so you can see it there. It's not lit up, it's just really easily seen. But you have also your Bluetooth icon that lets you know that I'm still connected to the golf cart and all that. But that little triangle with the exclamation in it, it's what pops up when something may go wrong, and then you can just touch it and it tells you what's actually wrong. And in a lot of cases, the company will give you a call, because they can watch this data live and they can see what happens to the controller or whatever, and maybe help you get through fixing the cart. It also shows you down here, this says waiting for the key switch, and so let's operate that forward reverse switch real quick, see what happens. Okay, so there's neutral and reverse. Cool. So it's keeping up with what's going on. Alright, so you cut the key switch on and it disconnects from the Bluetooth, and then it will reconnect. Come on. Now that it realized that there's the key switch, so now it's ready to see if it'll make a move. And so I'm going to put it in reverse and just lightly touch the gas, because this thing should be pretty sensitive, and see what happens. Oh yeah, there we go. Cool. Let's do forward. Alright, so switch it to neutral. Now we're going to hit forward, and we've got forward movement. Sweet. If you need assistance in like the settings mode, the guys at Navitas are super knowledgeable about where to tell you to put the parameters for changing any of like the torque settings, the speed settings, and the braking settings. So you want to reach out to them when you're trying to adjust these controllers. That way they can get in here with you. You open this up, they'll open it up on their end. They will see that you know, you're asking for a little more torque per se, so they'll tell you to change a certain parameter to a certain number or a percentage, and then you'll basically cut the card off, cut the controller system off, reset it basically so that it memorizes what you just set inside the app into the controller, and then you'll be ready to rip again. As always, guys, we appreciate you watching the videos. Hope you enjoyed this one. Hope this one was a little bit better. As always, if you got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are more than welcome to help you try to figure out what you got going on when you do a conversion like this. Thank y'all so much. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, grab that bell for these videos, and as always, keep subscribing, guys. Thank y'all so much. God bless.